going to the clinic and seeing the young man that took me there hand over the $200 at the front counter. I remember walking down a long hallway and going into a room, climbing up on the table, a man I'd never seen before walking in, and then excruciating pain. This was on a Friday morning. My memory returns Monday afternoon as I opened a letter from the clinic stating that all the tissue had successfully been removed. And I know now that that tissue included the fully formed hands and feet and the once beating heart of my first child, and how I wish I had fought for them. The next year was a steady blur of greatly increased drug and alcohol use, and then I met the man of my dreams and thought my torment was over. Gave up the drugs and alcohol, but that was quickly replaced with another 16 years of nightmares, flashbacks, anxiety attacks. I couldn't bond with my future children, nor trust my parenting decisions, because after all, look how I had done with my very first. And it probably won't be a surprise to you to hear that my marriage was quickly falling apart. So ironically, I was on the fast track to being a single parent after all. Now there is good news, and this is the part that I love to share. A woman stood up at church and shared that she had suffered with many after abortion side effects until she went through a healing program put on by our local pregnancy resource center. I started that 12-week program certain that I would never amount to anything more than the woman at the well. And I finished it absolutely certain that I am a beloved daughter of an almighty king.
Amen.
But now, no longer shackled by the burden of needing to abuse myself with that quiet voice loud in my head, I was no longer shackled by that, but I had a new burden, and that was to reach out to the 43% of women my age who've had one or more abortions. Oh, and guess what? There's men involved too. They hurt too. So now I was burdened to reach out to them. I call them the walking wounded, and help them, give them hope that they too can walk out of that self-imposed prison of shame. So I started as a volunteer for the Pregnancy Resource Center, started leading the after-abortion studies, ended up on the board, and then I must have missed a meeting because next thing I knew I was the executive director. Truth is, I did apply for it and interview. But it was interesting. I mean, I'd been as a volunteer for many, many years and been in the office while they were open. But being there daily and experiencing that. My job was to take us from a traditional pregnancy center to one providing ultrasounds. So we changed our name to Hope Medical Clinic. And to be there daily and listen to the staff who may have just finished up in the ultrasound room, realizing that they and the mother and the ultrasound technician may be the only ones who ever see that baby, with the exception of those that are set out to kill them. So there's a lot of emotional turmoil that comes with that too. So I have two questions for you. Do you believe that life begins at conception?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe that every one of those preborn children is a brother and sister of us?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to ask you, what are you doing about it? Right? So there's at least 40 pregnancy resource centers in Oregon, and I can guarantee you that they all need volunteers, donors, and most importantly, your prayers. We should celebrate Roe v. Wade being overturned, but our pro-life work is not finished. In fact, in several states, unfortunately Oregon being one of them, our work is actually ramping up. There's easier access to the abortion pill. There's corporations that are sending their female pregnant employees on abortion vacations so that they can get back to work right away. And did you know that Ontario is looking at a Planned Parenthood going in right on the border between Oregon and Washington? So chemical abortion is better, in my opinion, than surgical abortion, and here's why. Surgical abortion, one and done, it's over with. Chemical abortion, there is a chance that child could be saved. So if there's anything you remember today from me, it's Abortion Pill Reversal Network. It's a website where they can go and be put in touch with pro-life medical professionals. I wrote a book about a pregnant, homeless, mentally ill woman being coerced by 2 government agencies. That's the true part. The backstory is true. Got some copies at a table back there. Love to put one in your hand. Love to speak at pro-life events. Check out cindybrunk.com to learn more. I hope you enjoy putting your faith into action during the march today. And I want to close again with, do you believe that life begins at conception?
Yes.
Okay, so ask yourself while you're walking, what are you going to do about it? Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. What a powerful, powerful story. And a good reminder that we all have power in us and that we can use that and use our voice. I am proud to introduce my own county commissioner, Danielle Bethel. Danielle is a Marion County native and proud mother of 3. She stood as a strong voice for our students as a school board member of Salem Kaiser School District and has served as Marion County Commissioner since 2020. Danielle's pro-life commitment began long before she served in elected office, committing many hours to supporting and mentoring young people here in the Salem area. Thank you. If you were to ask me 27 years ago if I'd ever be standing on a stage in front of any of you, I would think the answer was an emphatic no. And I'm going to tell you why. And then I'm going to help you answer Cindy's question. But before I do that, I just want to say to her, wherever she went, thank you for sharing your story. There's nothing more terrifying than standing in front of another human being and acknowledging a decision that you've made and assuming that they're going to judge you and that they're going to wrap shame around you, because that's what we do in American society. We impose our beliefs on others to try to make ourselves feel better about what we're doing. 27 years ago, I was a student at McKay High School just east of here on Lancaster Drive. And if you don't know this, it was probably a very intentional decision by Planned Parenthood to build their building across the way on Wolverine Drive. I was the daughter of a single mom. I grew up in severe poverty, and we had a very limited amount of resources to reach out to. My mom was gone at this point, and I was navigating homelessness. Actually, at this very moment in my life, I lived with a dear friend. I apologize for the emotion. I became pregnant like some young girls do. I thought that the people that I reached out to were those that really truly saw me as a person, understood the challenges that I was facing, and really wanted to help. But what I know now, all the years later, is that they were more afraid for themselves than they were for me. I truly believe that the people that helped me make the decision to have an abortion believed that I was a burden to them and that my unborn child was going to be a burden to them too. I'm sure that they saw me in the way that they knew how, but they didn't really spend time with me. They never actually got to know my story. I was a statistic or a student in a building that they needed to move through to the next thing in life. The home I was staying at this time learned quickly that I had this abortion, and it was within just a few moments that their decision was made to ask me to leave. And it was the very first time that I'd ever been unhoused officially. I didn't have parents, and I didn't have a family. What I had was peers my age who loved me. Thank you. I should have brought these. I thought I wasn't going to cry. I apologize. Anyway, my peers, my 16-year-old friends, wrapped themselves around me and helped me get to school one day after the next. It was actually a softball coach, a man, who saw me one day and said, "I don't know what's going on in your life, but whatever it is, you're going to overcome it. You've got great charm and charisma, and you are a very bold person. Just continue to walk ahead and see where the path takes you." And I promise you, he made an impact in my life many times over. Today, as you hear my story or that of Cindy's, I want to leave a few things with you. When she asks you, what are you going to do about it? I want you to pause and really think about what you can do. It's really just about seeing the person in the space that they're in. It's not about the greater picture of what the world imposes on us, of what we're supposed to achieve and how we're supposed to do it. I'm a very proud mom of 3 Earthside children, and as of recently, a grandmother to a beautiful little girl. My kids are young, and I can tell you over the 44 years of my life, I've always wanted to have a big family. But I've never been more terrified as to every time I got pregnant in hopes to not fail my children. My son, who is now 21 years old and a father, is successful in his happiness. He has a beautiful girlfriend and a baby that they pour their love into every single day. And because I have healed myself, and because of people like Lois Anderson, the day I blew into her office and asked for her support and threw this story out on her table, she didn't kick me out. I realize there are true loving people on this planet that do want to help others, one person at a time. You know, the Union Gospel Mission has a theme. It's called Stop for the One. It just takes that one person to stop for another. If I could have just had one person tell me that I don't have to be rich, I don't have to own a home, and I don't have to be whatever, I'd have a child who's older than my son. And I wouldn't live with the amount of pain and suffering that I have for all these years. I try every single day in my job as a commissioner to make sure that I see the people in my community. Ask Commissioner Willis, he's somewhere over in that crowd.
We love you, Danielle.
We work really, really hard to make sure that we're pouring services into our systems so that way we can serve people one at a time. I'm proud of an investment that Commissioner Willis asked us to provide last year to Hope Pregnancy Resource Center, so that way we could make sure those women were loved and seen too. I do realize this isn't just about women. It's definitely about men too. It's mostly just about people, and the fact that we sometimes make decisions and get ourselves into circumstances that we just need a little bit of pause and a whole lot of love. So as you're marching today, as Cindy said, what can you do? I ask you today to step up. Do something about it. Ask somebody what's wrong, and truly listen when they answer. And don't be afraid to think that you can't help, because even if you don't have the solution, someone else does. It only takes courage to reach out and engage. Thanks for letting me share some of my story with you today, and I truly hope that you continue to move forward with the love that you have in your heart like you do today. Have a good day.
Thank you, Danielle.
Wow.
Thank you for just being vulnerable and sharing your story. I think it's just incredibly powerful. I want to take a moment here to recognize a few other individuals amongst us that are elected officials who are very supportive of the pro-life movement. We have Representative James Heeb here. Can you raise a hand so we know? Well, I don't see him, but he is here. Representative Scharf is also here, right up front. Representative Ed Deal, I saw him over by the tent there. We have Commissioner Willis here, over that way, and Representative Mannix as well, over there. So we're just about to march, but first I'd like to call up Dr. Darren Williamson, who will lead us in a final blessing. Darren is the founding director of Northwest School of Discipleship. I should say my kids see you. In Tigard, and was the preaching minister of Kaiser Church of Christ for over 11 years. He and his wife Melody live in Salem with their 8 children. Ooh.
Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. In all that he does,